Hi, I've just finished listening to an Audible book, and it's Blue Sisters by Coco Mellors. And it's the first book of hers I've read. I think I'm going to go back and read, I think, Cleopatra and Frankenstein now. Anyway, this is what as I said, I listened to it on Audible. But it's one of those books where I felt that I wish I'd had a physical copy as well, that I could flick back and reread some of the descriptions, because some of the descriptions are just so evocative sometimes. And it's very difficult to flick back on an Audible. How many minutes do you scroll back? Whereas with a book, you can just flick through and find the page, especially if you've earmarked it. Anyway, this is a novel about sisters and about grief and about moving on. It's about the Blue Sisters, Avery, Bonnie and Lucky. There was a fourth sister, Nikki, but she's died a year previous to the book. The live action of the book starts. We're a year on from Nikki's death. And it's a novel about the sisters' grief, about them reshaping themselves into a three, whereas they'd always been a four. It's set in the main in New York, but we have parts in London and Paris and whatever as well. And through the alternating chapters, you see how these three women are coping or not coping with the grief, that with the loss of their sister a year ago. They in grief, it's always our first year, isn't it? The first anniversaries of everything that happens in that year. And through the recollections, we learn a lot about them. We learn a lot about their childhood, about their relationships with each other, and their relationships with their parents, and the effect that Nikki's death had on them all. Avery's the eldest. She was almost a mum to the other three. Father was a drunk, so she was always protecting her three younger siblings, taking them away, teaching them to swim. She was being the mum to them that her mother never really was. Bonnie tends to be the peacemaker. She would sort of, whenever there were arguments, she'd always sort of step in and try and make the peace. And Lucky was the youngest one, the rebellious one. Now, Avery is a lawyer in London, living with her wife, Chitty. But in that year from Nikki's death, she's found herself sort of almost stepping away, almost sort of keeping part of herself closed from Chitty, whereas before there was this totally openness, and now she feels as though there's sort of a barrier. Bonnie was a boxer. For all her peacemaking roles in the family, she was a boxer, and a successful one, until Nikki's death. And then she walked out the gym, went to LA and became a bouncer. Lucky, a successful model. She was picked up as a teenager and moved out of home very, very early to be a model all over the world. She became the party animal. She was renowned for being a model and a party animal. But again, after Nikki's death, her partying, her substance use, it wasn't just to have a good time, it was to send her into oblivion. But now, a year on, the three sisters have sort of come together again. And you can see that there are issues there. There's a lot of issues that need to be resolved. But sisterhood, the bond between them, is strong. The arguments, I mean, I've only got a brother, I don't have any sisters, but some of the arguments where you sort of firing off these hurtful comments, it did bring back memories of the arguments that my brother and I used to have. The barbs you'd throw out. The things you'd say that you wish you could immediately take back. I think overall, my favourite sister of the three is Bonnie. Though, from what you hear about Nikki, I think she could have been the favourite, because you hear Nikki talked about by everybody. So if it had been a novel of four sisters, I think Nikki would have been the favourite. But as it is, Bonnie is my favourite. Does that make sense? I'm rambling again, aren't I? For me, the epilogue tells you what goes on afterwards. 10 years later, this is. Yes, it's nice to see where the sisters are now after this, the bulk of the book, where they're dealing with the year after Nikki's death. It's nice to see where they are and what they've done. But I felt that it could have been. I can't say, if I say too much, I don't want to spoil it. You'll have to read it yourself, and then you'll know what I'm rabbiting on about. But I think the epilogue didn't need the last 2 or 3 paragraphs. I'm assuming it's paragraphs because I was only listening, so I don't know whether it's paragraphs or pages or what. But the epilogue needed to go and stop, not go on. And you will know when you've read it what I'm talking about, because I can't tell you without spoiling it. And I don't like books to be spoiled. But I'm just saying that for me, the epilogue could have been a bit. Just chop the end off. I didn't feel we needed the end. But overall, it's a lovely novel of complex characters, complex relationships. A novel about grief and moving on. And overall, a novel about the bond that sisters have. So, Blue Sisters by Coco Mellors. I thoroughly enjoyed it, apart from that last little bit, the epilogue. So, happy reading. Take care.